In today's video, we're going to see how we can apply static NAT on our previous topology. NAT stands for Network Address Translation, and as we know that whenever we want to communicate with internet, we need to have a public IP present. Since we are using the previous topology that we made in our previous videos, and we are using, if you remember, we're using a a dynamic IP that is of a private range, and in VLAN 10 we were using 10.0 ID, as you can see from here, and same way in VLAN 20 we were using 20.0 network ID. There you go. If we switch from static to dynamic, and the same way in VLAN 30 we were using 30.0 network ID, and all the PCs were assigned IPs according to the network ID that belonged to that certain VLAN. So we have made a star topology with different VLANs, and these VLANs have a router that is acting as our dhcp server, and in this video it will also be our default gateway, or we can say gateway router. Okay, so the next thing that we will be doing is we will be adding another router, and we will be naming it as our internet router, which basically means is that this will be a router that is on internet, that means the WAN connection. And we will also configure an IP 8.8.8 just like the Google server, the Google DNS server, and we will test out our ping through these private networks to this router. So we're going to use a serial link to simulate our WAN connection. So let's first set up this serial link. Go to our router, configure terminal, and then go to serial interface, and then give it an IP address. I'm just going to use a simple address with the /30 subnet mask, and now shutdown. And same way we're going to go into the internet router and go to global configuration, then serial interface, and then IP address, and it would be the same network ID but different IP address, 255.255 sorry .255.252, and no shutdown. Okay, so this link is up, but if we try to ping 8.8.8, it will give us a destination host unreachable error. Now, as we know, because we have covered routing in our previous lectures, if we check our routing table, it contains this network ID 111.1.1.0 and 192.168.10.0 and 20 and 30. So these are the network IDs that are present here, and we are pinging 8.8.8.8. Okay, so we missed another thing. We didn't actually made the loopback address. So let's make up that and give it IP address 8.8.8 and the subnet mask that we are using here is /24 subnet mask. Okay, so let's try again, that maybe there is a question in someone else's mind that we didn't actually configure the IP address. So even after configuring the IP address, the result would be the same. Okay, and that is because we're trying to communicate from these private IPs to this public IP. Okay, and the decision, as we know, that is made up on the routing table. So even if we add so even if we add a route that is 8.8.8.0 255.255.255, that is the network ID of the IP address, and then we give serial 0/0. This is the static route towards a 8.8.8.0. So if the error was due to a routing problem, we have the route present now, and if we go again and try to ping it, let's see what happens. So right now the message has changed from destination host unreachable to timed out. Why? Because the routes are present, but the IPs that are being routed over the internet, over the WAN connection, are private IPs, and as we know that private IPs can't be routed over internet, so we need to do a translations, that is a network address translation. Okay, so NAT has different types: static, dynamic, and NAT overload, or it's also called PAT. But right now in this video we're going to see how we can use static NAT. So let's do that. Before we configure NAT, the first step that we need to do is we need to mention that which interfaces will be our inward interfaces, meaning the interfaces from which private IPs will be coming in the router, and which will be our outward interfaces, meaning that this will be the interface and that through which the converted IPs, that means the IPs that will be translated from the private IPs to the public IPs, will be sent towards the destination. Okay, in this case this 8.8.8. so if we remember, we had different sub interfaces: 0.10, for example, FA 0/0.10 for VLAN 10, 0.20 for VLAN 20, and VLAN 30. So these interfaces will be our inward interfaces, or in the NAT command form, this will be NAT inside interfaces. And SE00, since this connects us to the 8.8.8 through the WAN link, so this will be our outward interface, or in NAT terms it will be our outside NAT outside interface. Okay, so the first thing is we need to mention which interface will be our inward interfaces and which will be our outward interface, and then we will configure the NAT translations. So let's first do that. So go to global configuration mode and go to that certain interface, for example 0/0.10. so this is our for VLAN 10. So we will give it command ipnat inside. So just that. So this command will tell that this interface is an inward interface or an inside interface through which private IPs will be coming, and the router will look for these inward interfaces and get the private IPs and then convert it and then send through the outward interfaces. So let's switch to the second interface, fa0/0.20, and give the same command. Sorry, IPNet inside. Same way we will go to the third interface 0.30 and give the same command IPNet inside. Then we will go into the serial 0/0 interface and give IPNet outside command. So this way we have told the router that this will be inward interfaces and this will be our outward interface, and you have to convert the IPs that are the private IPs that are coming from the inward interfaces and then send the traffic out through this outward interface. So right now we are only using a single outward interface, but we can use multiple. So since we have done that, sorry, we have to go to the global configuration mode, and then now we will see how we can do these translations. So the command for that is IP. I'm going to use the question mark to provide suggestions. IP NAT, then question mark, and we have inside, outside, and pool. Okay, so right now we are doing inside translations, so we're going to go for inside, and then we have the source. There's no other combination here. Then after source we have two combinations, list and static. So as we said that we will be right now covering the static part, so we will give static. We will cover the list part in our next videos. Static, and then again question mark, and then we can provide either an inside local IP address or different protocols. So right now we're going for this inside local IP address option because we want to convert our private IP address into the public IP addresses. So the address that we are going to do is 10.2. If you remember, this was the address of this device. Okay, the 10.2. So we want to convert this address into one. So I'm again going to give a question mark, and that is inside global IP address. So if you remember, this is the interface that we designated as the outward interface, the inside out. So this is our global IP because this is our gateway router. So whenever the traffic is sent, it will be sent to this global IP, that this public IP. And if you remember, we prefaced it as 1.1.1.1. So the next thing is to provide that IP address, the outside the interface IP address. So there you go. So this command has made a static NAT entry, which we can see if we give to show IP NAT translations. So as you can see, this is the entry that is made, that this inside address will be converted into this address. So how we can see that in action? Since there are no packets sent right now, there are no translations made here, but as soon as we send a packet from this side, for example, if we made this ping, and as you can see, the ping has been successful because before it wasn't successful, but as soon as we did the translation, the ping was successful. And if we give the command again, yeah, there you go, we can see that this IP was converted to this IP and sent to this global IP address. Okay, so in this way we can configure static NAT. So if we want to configure the entries for the rest, we will give just up arrow and 10.3, and then again we will give 20.2, and .2 will be replaced by 20.3, and again 2 and 30. This is for the third VLAN, and 3 and 4. Okay, so that's all. That's the network translations that we have to do. And now if we ping from any other device, it should ping the very first time. Yeah, There you go. Same way if you go to a VLAN 20 PC and we give ping, it will be a go. Same way if we go to uh, a VLAN 30 PC, there you go. Okay, so that's how you can configure static NAT, but as you can see, there is a drawback to it, that we have to configure each and every machine's static entry. Okay, we have to bind the private IP address to the public IP address. So that's why, as in previous static options, this has a lot of work overload. Okay, so we mostly use the dynamic options. So in our next videos we will try to explore them. So until then, take care.